Like other sports, cheerleading has long been organized by strict age divisions: tiny, mini, youth, junior, and senior. Yet in 2025, a new experiment called Flex Division slipped that script, allowing children as young as 7 and teens up to 16 to compete together on one team. USASF introduced Youth Flex ages 6 through 13 and Junior Flex ages 7 through 16 divisions ostensibly to expand participation opportunities and accommodate teams with diverse age ranges. It was pitched in order to accommodate smaller gyms. Instead of universal praise, these flex divisions have ignited a firestorm of debate. In this video, we will investigate why mixing 7-year-olds with 16-year-olds is raising ethical concerns, how flex teams may fail to develop strong athletes, and whether the original intent of flex is now being betrayed by powerhouse programs. There are many aspects as to why the outcry regarding flex divisions has been happening. To understand it, consider the enormous developmental gap between a 7-year-old child and a 16-year-old teenager. In any other context, we keep these ages worlds apart. Schools separate students by grade levels. A second grader isn't placed in a class with juniors in high school. Youth sports leagues use age brackets like under 8 and under 10, etc. to keep play fair and safe among similar-aged kids. Even organizations like the Girl Scouts maintain distinct cohorts: daisies in kindergarten through 1st grade, brownies in grades 2 through 3, juniors in 4 through 5, cadets in 6 through 8, and seniors in 9 through 10. Just to emphasize this point, I want to highlight some things I was learning at 7 versus things I was learning at 16. At 7, I was still learning to read fluently, still learning how to tie my shoes, and learning how to add and subtract. At 16, I was learning to drive, preparing for my SAT and AP tests, and solving complex algebraic equations. So, if I even have to ask, should someone like a 7-year-old me, who is still struggling to tie her shoes, be on a team with someone like a 16-year-old me, who is driving herself around? The reasoning is simple. Younger children and mid-teens differ vastly in physical strength, emotional maturity, and social development. Blurring age boundaries is inherently problematic. It creates power imbalances where older athletes naturally dominate, leaving the younger ones reduced to mascots or token performers rather than true team members. This undermines equality and disrupts the dynamic of the team. There is a reason age groups and grade groups exist. The larger the population, the more influence it can exert. Back to our village schoolhouse example, 6 kids from different age groups may not pose a big dominance disparity, but increase that number and the dynamic changes. All it takes is one person in a position of real or perceived authority to abuse the power dynamic. There's also the question of safety and supervision. Coaches and organizations now must ensure that teens and young kids interact appropriately. Some parents worry, is my 7-year-old emotionally safe on a team with teenagers? Will they be included or isolated? These concerns echo why youth sports traditionally segregate ages. Even within high school athletics, we distinguish between junior varsity and varsity, partly because freshmen and sophomores differ from juniors and seniors in experience and maturity. On to my next point, these flex divisions aren't even building stronger athletes. Proponents of flex divisions might say, at least teams get to compete, isn't that building athlete skills? But I'd like to counter that by outright saying that these flex divisions absolutely do not produce stronger athletes in the long run. In fact, they may do the opposite. Consider a 16-year-old base or back spot whose job is to lift and catch a 7-year-old flyer. Sure, the stunt might hit easily, a teenager can hoist a 50-pound child with relative ease, but that base isn't being challenged to improve their strength or technique. There's minimal conditioning value in repeatedly basing someone so small. When that base later has to lift a peer closer to their own size, they might struggle because they have never learned proper technique with an older, more appropriately weighted partner. Honestly, letting a high school-aged base lift a first-grade flyer is like letting an Olympic weightlifter train with toy dumbbells. It might feel easy, but it builds false confidence and bad habits. And let me be clear, there's no room for improvement for the younger athletes either. They might rely on being small and being based by girls a lot more physically mature than them, which will result in them having poor technique when put in a stunt group consisting of kids their age. Essentially, a 7 or 8-year-old who was always the cute little flyer on a junior flex team might not learn to control her own body tension or balance. She didn't have to, because her older, stronger bases kept her up. Skill development suffers on both ends. The shortcut of pairing big kids with little kids might yield some quick trophies since stunts hit with less effort, but it doesn't train athletes for higher levels. After all, a core purpose of youth sports is progression. Kids should gradually build strength, confidence, and mastery appropriate for their age. If a 16-year-old's only experience is basing elementary kids, they'll be unprepared to base peers at college or world's level. And the little ones, instead of learning step by step on teams of their peers, get thrown into the deep end. As a result, flex divisions may actually stunt growth. Not physical height, but the growth of skills and grit that comes with working with age-appropriate challenges. So, how did we get here? The flex division concept was originally a solution for scarcity. In many small town or Division II all-star programs, there might be only a handful of athletes for a given age or level, not enough to form a full team under the standard age grids. USASF's early announcement made it clear. These new youth flex and junior flex options were alternatives for gyms that may not have enough athletes to form teams in standard age groups. They were created to make all-star cheer more inclusive and adaptable, particularly for smaller programs or those in smaller communities. In other words, a tiny gym that, say, has 3 8-year-olds, 4 12-year-olds, and 5 15-year-olds could combine them into one flex team, whereas they'd be forced to leave some kids teamless or compete with unusually small squads. The flex divisions were introduced on a provisional basis, essentially a trial run for the 25-26 season, to see if this idea actually helps participation without negative side effects. The spirit of flex was about leveling the playing field for under-resourced gyms. It was a scarcity solution, born out of a genuine desire to let every kid participate despite number constraints. However, without the season even beginning, critics allege that flex is being hijacked by the very programs that don't lack the numbers. Instead of only small gyms taking advantage of the expanded age range, some of the industry's powerhouse programs have jumped on board, not out of necessity, but seemingly for competitive advantage. For instance, Cheer Extreme Kernersville revealed that they'd have 5 flex teams, and Top Gun Miami revealed that they'd have 4. Is that really fair? Divisions made with small gyms in mind being exploited for competitive advantage? The flex division experiment has undeniably shaken up competitive cheerleading in a short time. What started as an inclusion-driven idea has led to some serious questions about ethics, athlete development, and competitive balance. So, what can be done moving forward to better support athletes' growth and safety without abandoning the small gyms the flex concept sought to help? Here are some suggestions. A 9-year age span, 7 through 16, on flex teams is too broad and creates mismatches in maturity and development. Capping the age gap to 4 to 5 years would maintain some flexibility while avoiding situations where first graders share teams with high schoolers. Flex was originally designed to help small gyms build full rosters, so limiting it to Division II programs would keep it aligned with that purpose. Larger gyms could be restricted to exhibition use only, if that's what they want to do. To enforce this fairly, event producers could require a brief explanation when entering a flex division. If a small gym is trying to make a team with mixed ages, that's valid. If a large gym is just exploiting the rule, that should raise questions. Coaches should also be educated on flex's intent. It's not about easier wins, but meaningful development. Older athletes should still be challenged, not used as stable bases for tiny flyers. Finally, USASF could revise scoring or classification. For example, judging flex teams based on their oldest member's age or deducting for obvious size advantages in stunts. These adjustments would preserve fairness while still supporting gyms that genuinely need the flex option. In the coming months, all eyes will be on those flex teams at competitions. Will we see heartwarming stories of small gyms finally getting to compete? Or will we see juggernaut programs sweeping titles with squads that look like odd age mismatches? More importantly, how will the children on those teams fare? Both the tiny flyers and the older bases. The cheer world is at a crossroads where it must decide if winning at all costs is worth blurring fundamental age boundaries. Perhaps this controversy will remind us why those age boundaries existed in the first place. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please feel free to comment below. Thanks!